Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, K&M Missing Project, a copyrighted edition for our video channel. Special guest today, a good friend and a really nice guy. This is Marty from Gather Up Events. I've done a ton of conferences with him, and right now we are on the Bigfoot cruise to Alaska. Welcome, Marty.
Thank you.
So, first of all, you've done a great job with all the events that Angie and I have gone to, and I really appreciate that. But kind of tell me, the crowd wants to know a little bit behind the scenes of the Alaska cruise. Tell us how it went.
You know, this one has been spectacular. We got on the boat last Friday with the forecast that was not the best. And we have stolen four beautiful days in a row. Had a pretty tumultuous day in Juneau, which worked out fine because we were in our Juneau Town Hall for 6 of the hours. So if you're gonna miss a day, that was a great day to be indoors. But it's been absolutely gorgeous. The whale watching people came back ecstatic. I know you've done the stream fishing and everybody came back from it saying they had an absolute ball. The tours up into the Yukon, the White Pass Summit Railroad, everybody's came back just huge smiles on their face, and you know, that's all it takes for me to be happy about it.
So tell me about the town hall. How did that idea evolve in your mind, and how do you think this one went?
You know, the idea of the town hall was a lot of the people that got on, you know, the cruise with us, terribly interested in indigenous, you know, lore. They love to hear what the Native Americans thought, and especially as it related to Bigfoot, because you know they don't speak about it a lot. We get into Juneau and we decided to do the town hall because it's the only city big enough to actually do that, right? Trying to gather more than 30 people into a building in Sitka, you're going to be hard pressed, right? But Juneau's got a small conference center called the Elizabeth Paratrovic Hall. Holds about 400 people. I think we crammed almost 500 into it last year. It was so popular last year that we just couldn't get them in. I think the weather may have kept a few people away this year, but it was still really, really well attended. But the idea was to give our cruisers an opportunity to get off the boat and hear town hall type stories from locals, whether it be, you know, the people from the Haida tribe or any of the other, because there's several tribes that are, you know, populous in this area, or just the transplants, because there's tons of transplants that live in the Juneau area too. So that was the background for it.
So how do you think this year went compared to last year?
You know, I think this year ran better. It was a little bit less attended, but I thought everything went amazingly smooth this year. You know, it took a little while, as it often does. If any of you guys have ever been to a town hall type event, it's kind of like karaoke. No one wants to get up first, and then they'll slowly start warming up to it, and then, you know, there tends to be some momentum that gets developed, and then you have a lot of people that say, I want to tell my story. And it actually finished amazingly. I can't share this. I can share the story behind it, but a lady came up that had a video that her father had taken before he passed away, and this is how I remember it anyway, and had their little farmhouse, you know, if this was the screen, had their little farmhouse right here, and they lived in a really flat area. And all of a sudden these lights come up, and this isn't Bigfoot, but she goes, can I share this? And we're like, absolutely. And this triangular band of light came up that almost looked like it had a double helix kind of light system going through the center of it, and then this really bright green light in the middle that just kept pulsing, right? Relative to the size of their farmhouse, it was, you know, hundreds of yards wide, had to be. And it was only like a 15-minute clip, but the sound from it and everything was just compelling. And I know, again, not Bigfoot, but crazy video. And the whole crowd just was like in awe of it. So
this is in Alaska.
This is in Alaska, yeah, 3 days ago.
And what was the reason she was even filming then?
Oh, it was her father. Her father was coming home, and he saw right above his farmhouse this UFO, right?
Whoa.
And he got about 15. There may have been more, but she only showed us a 15-second clip that he had given to her. But yeah, it was mind-boggling, the video there. And then of course the Bigfoot stories are, as they always are, very interesting in this area. So yeah, it went really well, and we had a little snafu. We had a speaker cancel, and then we had another speaker not show up, which it's Alaska. If you guys ever come to Alaska, you'll find out that they kind of have their own plan sometimes about how things go, but we appreciate the fact that Dave stepped up and took a little extra time, and the crowd loved that, and all the other speakers took a little bit extra time, and it went wonderful. I mean, there was no one that walked out of there going, "Gosh darn, I wish we'd had somebody else there." Right? So it was nice. I think
I gotta say that the table that Angie and I were sitting at, a lot of people came up, talked to us, super friendly, happy to have us there. I think we maybe broke up their rainy Sunday afternoon.
Right. There wasn't a whole lot else going on in Juneau.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
But no, it was really a good time. And then how did you and Nikki decide to have these excursions? Did people like me that were the speakers request something from you, or did you just come up with them?
Well, I came up with them originally because in my mind, the cruise itself is what I call a super VIP event, right? You do not get, no matter where you go, you're not going to go somewhere and get to spend 7 days on a boat randomly bumping into yourself, Dave, or Dr. Meldrum, or even these other guys like Alexander Petikoff's here this year from Small Town Monsters, right? We got Dr. Robert Alley, who, if you guys are not familiar with him, which I'm sure most of you are, the author of Raincoat Sasquatch, which deals with the encounters all up and down southeast Alaska, which is kind of where the boat's going, so perfect fit for it, right? And then, of course, we have RPG, production side at Finding Bigfoot, and also was a cast member for a short stint at Expedition Bigfoot. All these guys bring something different to the table, and while you'll any morning at all, you're very likely to walk down to the fourth deck and see Dr. Alley surrounded by 3 or 4 people pulling out masks and showing his book and explaining everything that the world needs to know that they don't know yet, and that you just don't get that anywhere, right? So the idea was that there are shy people out there that if they see you, they're going to be like, "Oh, there's Dave," and they're just going to walk away, right? They want to come talk, but the excursions give them a chance to say, "Okay, well, I'm going stream fishing with Dave. I'm going to be on the beach beside Dave fishing for 4 hours." It's an opportunity that they would not get, and we love our conferences. I mean, Smoky Mountain Bigfoot, the Great Florida Bigfoot, and we do VIP events there. But you know how those go. It's like you having dinner and you shake hands and you talk for 5-10 minutes, get a photo, and that's a VIP event. This is dramatically different. It's dramatically different. The ability to engage with these people that are usually, an arm's length apart.
So the one thing that we did, which was the cancellation of one of the fishing events, weather was just too windy and they canceled it in Skagway.
Right.
We took the train ride with Rob Alley.
Right.
And I got to tell you, that's an intimate atmosphere. And Rob's Mr. Personality on top of things, telling you everything you need to know. And then you're going through just absolutely beautiful country.
Stunning.
Yeah. And boy, I tell you what, this took our breath away. We didn't think it was going to be that fun. It was a blast.
Yeah, and the thing about Alaska specifically, now we're going to the Caribbean next year, which has its own beauty, but the thing about Alaska, and I was talking to a cruiser, we went on the trip with Alexander all the way into the Yukon, right?
Oh.
And saw some things that I'd never dreamed I'd see up there. I didn't know there was a mile long or a square mile of desert right in the middle of this path as you go up the White Pass.
Was that the sand dunes?
Yeah.
I heard about that. I've never heard that.
Oh,
before.
I know. I never heard of it either. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, does anybody want to get out and look at the desert?" And I'm like, "There's a desert over there." Wow. But the thing that I was talking to the cruiser about when we got up, we were at, I think, Emerald Lake, right, which is one of those beautiful things I saw on this trip, which is saying a lot, right? Because sometimes you'll just open up the window if you're on a balcony and go, oh. But this thing was so breathtaking, and you're sitting there and you're taking pictures, and I saw the lady next to me take a picture of it and look at her camera and go, because no matter what you do, you cannot capture it in a photo. You just cannot capture it. So people would take 1,000 photos, and every time they're like, "That's amazing," but man, it pales in comparison to the real thing, So
then, as an example, today we had a day at sea. Mm-hmm. And we had a series of talks. I actually did 2 of them today.
Right.
And well attended.
Yeah, absolutely. And
people had a lot of questions. And then what we do is every once in a while we'll host a dinner. Mm-hmm. So tonight, Angie and I hosted a dinner at Azumi, Japanese food.
Right.
Oh, it was good food.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Azumi.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
So all those interactions, And like you said, the opportunity to really sit down and talk to people that usually you don't.
Right.
So the general feedback, you've decided to expand and go someplace else next year.
Right. So after 2 years in Alaska, we decided that we're going to switch it up a little bit. We've had tons of people come up and basically go, hey, when are you going someplace warm, right? And at first I was like, oh, there's no Bigfoots in Jamaica or wherever, right? But then, after taking a step back, we're like, this is really more of a conference at sea. It's an opportunity for people to get together. And one of the things that we love about it is that after we really thought about it, is it could be anywhere, right? It's really about getting these people together in a closed environment and letting them talk, right? Our Smoky Mountain Bigfoot, Florida Bigfoot, there's on average probably 2,300 people there. If you took a picture of the main presentation that you did this morning, there's probably 250 people there. And that sounds like very little, but that's the entire group on this boat this year, 250, 275, right? But it looks like a small amount, and it is, and that's what this is for. It's like, you don't want to be surrounded by 2,000 people begging to get your attention to say hi and ask you a question or take a photo, right? It's about that level of intimacy. So we're really happy with the way this is going. And then the Caribbean came up after all those people asked. We're like, yeah, well, we're not really getting off the boat in Alaska looking for Bigfoot. We're getting off the boat in Alaska enjoying Alaska. The Bigfoot stuff's happening on the boat for the most part, right? I'm sure Dr. Alley talked to a lot of people about Bigfoot everywhere he went, but and probably some of the other guys, RPG probably did too. But it's really more about letting people have a wonderful vacation with a really nice Bigfoot flavor, right? And I'll just throw this out there. The piece of it that really brings it home for me is when you see these people that are attending it. They love the sessions, but when you get them into, like 2 days ago, we had this thing called Casual Cryptid Convo, right? We had reserved a space where the people could all come together, sit down together, and just talk about their experiences with, self-led. I mean, we kind of kicked it off and we kind of keep it moving, but if they were trying to pass the microphone back to us, we'd be like, whoa, it's not about us, it's about you. And after the third or fourth person, it just took off, right? And it went for 2 hours solid, and finally somebody threw up their hands like, I know 20 of us are supposed to be going to that hypnotist tonight, right? So they stopped it at that point, but again, the next morning, because we left the room after a certain point to let them just go at it, right? And of course, to be perfectly honest, I was working on getting everything ready for the Caribbean Bigfoot Cruise, which we launch on October 1st. But when I asked them the next morning, like, how'd that go? They're like, oh my God, it was amazing. Because these people come out of their shells. They're around like-minded people that aren't going to judge them, that actually are going to be very supportive of them and very curious about what they have. And it's a different world for them than at work when they go, oh, let me tell you a story about Bigfoot. And somebody goes, right? It's just, it's very empowering. And seeing people that are, shy or scared to tell their story come out of that shell, it's amazing to me.
So I know that you at least had people from the U.S. and Canada. Any other locations?
Over the last, so we have one Australian this year. I know we had 2 Australians last year. We had somebody from Ireland, I think, last year. So a few internationals come over. Usually we have about 5% Canadian. Yeah. Just, coming down from Vancouver or, somewhere nearby. But we had some this year, it was this year from the other side of Canada to Quebec area. So
nice. So when you do your events, your Bigfoot events, and we've done them for you in Okala and Gatlinburg, what's coming up?
So we got the Great Florida Bigfoot coming back in April. They moved us to June last year, which just was a timing issue. They couldn't get us the space. But we're back in April, so hopefully not 100 degrees. And then Gatlinburg is always the fourth Saturday, almost always the fourth Saturday in July, unless it's a weird month. But so July 27th maybe this year. All those are still kind of in the finalization process of getting the names of the people that are going to be there. We tend to not bring back speakers at the conferences. We always have a couple years between speakers. Because there's so many people out there with great ideas and research that people are interested in. So we're always trying to bring something new, while also maintaining the fact that we understand there are people that, the huge number or large percentage of the Bigfoot enthusiasts want to see. So we're trying to be cognizant of both sides and get as much of the celebrity level people as well as the people that are on the forefront of new research and things as well.
So since we've done both events, to me, there's a distinct difference between both locations.
Oh yeah.
So Gatlinburg, the conference center is right in the middle of the city. And if you've never been to Gatlinburg, I tell you, you got to go. It's a weird place.
It's weird. It's fun.
It's fun. To me, it's kind of like Las Vegas without gambling.
Right. And a beautiful mountain to go get lost in.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And it's right next to Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and that's filled with Bigfoot sightings as well. I got to tell you that one of the highlights of the last Gatlinburg trip was that Marty's son was playing in a band at a nightclub in Gatlinburg.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was a good time. And plus, the people there come from all over the South.
Oh, yeah. One of these days, I know we can't do it now, but one of these days, remind me, and I'll send you a map, because everybody that buys a ticket for one of our events, I always put it on a calendar, or not calendar, on a map, and basically just little pins, almost, like you're tracing missing people, right? And it is mind-boggling to me, the first year I did that, the spread, because it's all over the country. I mean, you definitely have a cluster right here, like 60-70% of the people are coming within an hour or two from Knoxville, Knoxville, Gatlinburg area, but all over. It's, I'd say you'd be amazed. I'll send you an image one of these days, and you'd be amazed how far people are traveling for some of these things. But yeah, 80% are probably 5 hours away than everywhere else.
The other event in Okala was in a giant, almost like a warehouse, but it's nicer than that, at a horse facility, and you have a lot of room. You could post that out to 5,000-10,000 people, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they do concerts in that same venue for 20,000, I think, because it is 137,000 square feet.
It's a beautiful facility.
Oh, and the technology in there. If none of you guys have ever been there, if there's any posts of you up there, or go to our website, and you probably see it. The screen that's above the stage, I want to say, is 40 feet, 50 feet wide, by like 20, 30 feet tall, and it's LED screen. And the nice thing is the rooms are, the presentation side is separate from the vendor side, but there's also a Jumbotron that has, I want to say, 16 or 20 foot screens on all four sides. So even if you're in there visiting with vendors or sponsors or speakers, you can still see what's going on and you can still hear it, because of the way they distribute that audio and video in there, which is nice. It is very different than Gatlinburg.
Very different. So in the next cruise, what are the stops?
Leaving out of Miami on the 9th of November next year, we're going to be going to St. Martin, St. Thomas, and Nassau.
And how many days at sea?
3 days at sea, 2 on the way out, 1 on the way back in.
Okay. And what can you tell the people to expect on that cruise?
If you haven't been on one of these Alaskan cruises, it's going to be a lot of formatting is going to be similar because everybody loves it, right? So there's going to be morning presentations on those days that we're at sea. The nice thing is we're on Symphony of the Seas, which is one of the Oasis class ships by Royal Caribbean, one of the big ships. And we've reserved the conference room for the entire time, which will hold almost 300 people.
That's a lot better than 50, 60.
I know. We were packing them in. Well, a lot of the things we did this week, we were thinking, 20, 30 people will show up to it. And then all of a sudden it's like half of our entire group shows up. And you're like, we might need to have to do a couple sessions. Even tonight when we were talking about next year's cruise, we had to go in 2 sessions because probably 100, 150 people wanted to find out about it. That's how much they liked it, right? So that's going to give us a lot more opportunity. We're thinking that we may be able to bring on a couple of additional personalities next year that may not have an opportunity to present in the theater, but maybe have some opportunities to do some stuff in the actual conference center instead. Some what we were calling sessions, right?
Right.
So it's going to give us some flexibility that we didn't have on this ship. Which, don't get me wrong, the Quantum series are, I think, the 3rd largest series of ships, but it's a big jump from here to there.
So in this bigger ship, are there more offerings as far as food, entertainment?
Yeah, Royal will have the same basic set, but there will be a few extra. So you'll still find, like, you'll still find like the amber and oak downstairs, and you'll still have the main dining halls, and you'll still have the Windjammer cafe. So all those will still be there, but you'll have probably a couple extra specialty dining opportunities. You'll have a couple more venues for entertainment. They actually have like a karaoke bar there instead of having an hour of karaoke. Not that I'm expecting everybody to sing, but
I thought we were going to have a challenge. You and me.
Well, if you come with us next year, I've actually booked as a part of my contract 2 days, 2 hours private for our group in the karaoke bar.
No way.
I did.
Angie's over there cringing right now.
So
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So, are all your cruises and all your events always going to be on Bigfoot?
No, and we had already started talking about a paranormal UFO cruise. I know we talked about one too, but I'd started talking to some, some gentlemen, some people I knew in the field. To be honest, they started out as, I knew them as Bigfooters, but I found out that they were actually more paranormal, and they were kind of a gateway for me to meet a lot more paranormal people. So we were looking at trying to do that. We haven't got it figured out timeline yet, and there's other options out there that, one we were talking about a little while ago that may be more interesting to a lot of people. But no, I would definitely, I think as a company, our goal is to hopefully do 2 cruises a year in the near future.
Wow, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. And it would be, we'll always have our Bigfoot cruise, but then the other one would probably be specifically paranormal UFO.
So just so people understand, while I've been here, I've given 1 talk about Bigfoot, but 2 talks about missing people.
Right.
So Marty's, even though it's a Bigfoot cruise, he's allowed me to talk about missing people on the cruise. So thank you.
Oh, no, everybody loved it.
Yeah. And actually, this was a custom presentation just for the cruise about people missing in Alaska. I've never given that before.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people were stunned about how many people are missing here under unusual circumstances. So we've got one more day.
One more day.
And that's in Victoria.
Yes.
Tell the people about that place.
Oh, well, so first of all, Victoria, if you ever do a cruise to Alaska, it's obligatory. Law requires us to stop in Victoria, but luckily, Victoria's a beautiful city. There's a lot of attractions there. It's a strong departure from Alaska, of course, right? You feel like you're more in like a Canadian version of Seattle, maybe a small Canadian Seattle. But the waterfront is beautiful. The Parliament building is beautiful. If you are willing to make that 45-minute drive, the Bouchard Gardens, Butterfly Gardens are beautiful. It's like it's you lose the rustic nature of everything else we've done so far, and it's a nice little stepping stone to get back to normal life as you go into Victoria. But definitely a wonderful city, and we always enjoy it. But it's definitely different. And we have a group from our standpoint. We've got a group going to Bouchard Gardens tomorrow with Dr. Melderman and his wife, and then we have a hop on hop off bus, because there isn't, like in Sitka, we have the fishing and we have the whales and all these other things, right? And you can do some of that too. You can do whale watching here in Victoria, but it's really more of that. Go out and see the city. Try the food, enjoy the neighborhoods. There's a Chinatown, there's a waterfront, there's all these different little areas. So what we decided to do was we've got our own private hop on hop off bus tour for our guys, right? So we're going to pick them up after we finish Alexander Petikoff's presentation in the morning at 11, and we're going to do like 5 loops where we're just letting them jump off at places and jump back on and bring them back to the boat.
Perfect. So got to tell you that. So I told Marty what I'd like to do is to take people fishing with Angie and I. And he set up fishing for us in Sitka, where we met 2 guys, both guides on a boat, not a big boat. And I think there were 5 of us in the morning that left, and then they came back and picked up more people. But they dropped us off at this inlet where this river comes in, not real big, stunningly gorgeous. Then they set us up fishing, and the salmon fishing was outstanding. And we were with a native guide.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
nice.
He was super nice guy.
Awesome. Super
knowledgeable. And he looks at me and goes, "Part of that Bigfoot cruise?" Yeah. And he goes, "You searching for it?" I go, not really. More interested in fishing today. And he says,
Right.
well, you know, there's places in Alaska where there's a lot more Bigfoot than here. He was serious.
Really? Nice.
And but then he took us up further up the river. And there's only Angie, I, and one other person because everyone else had left.
Right.
We go up way upriver, walk through this rainforest that's on a beauty scale. It was a 10 that nobody saw. And then we get up to the headwaters of this river, and we were catching Dolly Varden. I'd never caught one.
Wow.
And that's a bull trout, essentially, that went to the ocean and came back. Looks just like a bull trout that we catch in Montana, but the opportunity to catch one in that river was so special.
And I might not should tell you guys this, but based on the pictures, I think Angie ended up with the biggest fish. the picture you sent me of her, it looked like the fish was half of her size. So
that's Angie for you.
always showing off.
You know what? She always will catch the biggest fish, but she'll never come on screen and talk about it.
Modest.
Modest. I don't think so. But no, we had people that come out, and I know never had fished.
Right.
And they just said, okay, I caught my salmon, and they were catching good-sized salmon. Okay, I'm done. And
right.
It was just a fun day, and the people there were so nice. The guides on the trip actually talked about the area, and they're carrying guns.
Of course.
And I think they were used to maybe some cruise people being offended by that. And
they were thankful like they should be.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And they were... they explained that they do have grizzly bear here, and every once in a while a bear maybe gets angry. But we saw bald eagles, and I mean, you can see the fish going around, swimming all around you, and it's just an idyllic setting. I mean, probably for me, our favorite stop was Sitka.
Yeah. Sitka was so nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally had a great time in Skagway. Sitka, I was managing, getting people where they needed to be a lot, so I didn't get to enjoy it as much, but I've been there a couple times before, so I know what you're saying.
So had you ever gone into downtown Sitka?
Oh, yeah.
Is it very big?
No, downtown Sitka is not very big, but it's got a lot of interesting stuff to do, right? They have this little place called Totem Park, which sounds good, and you go there and it's like one totem pole, and there's like, eh. However, if you get off the beaten path a little bit, go around the corner, about 2 miles away, there's a place called the Historic National Park, Sitka Historic National Park, and it's just a path you can walk through, totems all through it, beautiful trees everywhere. It's going right along the waterfront. That is, there a lot of things in Alaska cost a lot of money. That's free, and it's amazing. And it's not too far away from like the Southeast Alaska Discovery Center, where they bring in a lot of the marine life, and they put them in like these, shallow pools where you can like touch them and play with them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just a lot of interesting things there are reasonable and terribly interesting things to do in Sitka, but the beauty itself is off the charts.
So one of the places, again, we stopped at was Skagway, and that's where we were supposed to go fishing, but the winds were just howling, had to cancel. Mm-hmm. So we had the train ride in the afternoon with Rob Alley,
right.
And in the morning, Angie and I took a walk through downtown Skagway. Picturesque, downtown, old Alaska feeling, really nice. And he said something that keyed on me. So we had so much time to kill before the train ride that at the other end of town, we walked into this pizza parlor.
Okay.
And we ordered a large pizza and had a couple of waters. $49.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we did the Yukon trip with Alex, and the bus driver at least twice and maybe 3 times mentioned how excited he was about doing this tour, because when you get to the end, they feed him barbecue chicken and all this. He goes, and it's free and it's delicious. And but if I get back to town, I have a quesadilla and it's like $23. He goes, so I'm just so happy to eat for free, right?
Wow.
But Sitka it's beautiful, and it's tiny. It's like, Skagway is tiny. It's like, I want to say 20 blocks long and maybe 4 blocks wide, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then part of that train ride that we've been talking about out of Skagway, you start at sea level, and it just climbs up to about 3,000 feet over this pass. You go over a couple of big bridges, and then you go into British Columbia just a little bit, and you make a U-turn, and then you come back down. We never cleared customs.
Oh, right. No, that's right. That's what, the crazy thing about that is like, because of the bad weather at the top, they moved the actual customs entry point 7 miles into British Columbia. So you can actually go about 6.5 miles and turn around and never have to worry about a customs guy. Because we figured that out, because we did have to go through customs, and they were telling us, like, hey, we're in the no man's land where we're not really supposed to be, but no one's going to check you until you get 7 miles up. And I think we had a bus that did the same thing, because we had the 2 train rides in the bus, and then ours went, I want to say, 30 miles into the Yukon, which, again, incredibly fun. First time I'd done that excursion, it was a lot of fun.
No, it was. We definitely do the train again. It was a blast. And for you people who haven't met Rob Alley and you see him at a conference, you need to go. The man is filled with knowledge, and he's willing to share.
More than willing. It's an imperative.
But he's a good-hearted soul. That's what's kind of cool about Rob.
Well, and you're right. Everybody that's met him's loved him. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's like your uncle that's too smart and feels like you need to know everything he knows. Right.
And I think I'm the guy who told you that Allie is the guy to have on a trip to Alaska.
Oh yeah. That's why we brought him into Juneau last year as the guest speaker, and I just wanted to do that because I hadn't met him before, so I wanted to get a chance to meet him before I brought him on a boat, right? Yeah. And see how the people from our boat responded to him, and everybody's like, "Oh, we love Dr. Alley," So So it's been a great trip.
So when you guys are done with this, what's your next event?
The very next thing is, well, the event business is kind of crazy, right? We immediately have to turn around and start launching everything. So Florida launches November 1st, Gatlinburg launches December 1st, and then our next event isn't until the Florida event in April. So
I didn't even know until this trip when one of your assistants told me, what's that bacon event?
So a long time ago when Nikki, the owner of Gather Up, right, she was doing small town events, like community events. We launched, and I helped. This is one of the first events I helped with. It was a festival, and we were just going to do this thing. We were trying to come up with a good idea for it, and we came up with, hey, everybody loves bacon. Let's do a bacon festival. We named it Bacon, the Tennessee Bacon Festival, right? And it went viral. We had 60 million people that actually viewed the event on Facebook. We ended up with 40-some thousand people saying they were coming. We were blessed with the most horrible forecast you could ever see. The week leading up to it is like 90% chance of thunderstorms, 90% chance of thunderstorms, 90% chance of thunderstorms on the day before, the day of, and the day after. And luckily, the day of, it was nice and sunny, and people showed up. Like 20-some thousand people still showed up to this thing, right? Again, talking about international, like we had people from Australia and New Zealand saying, hitting the like and I'm coming button, right? They may have, I don't know, but anyway, it was, if it wasn't for that forecast, I think we'd have been destroyed by the volume.
So where's the set?
It's in right outside of Cleveland, Tennessee, close to Chattanooga.
Okay.
We have it in a place called Tri-State Exhibition Center because after that first year, like I said, we got through the thing without no rain. It started sprinkling as we were packing up. The next day, because part of the event was on one side, and then the other part, you had to go through this under a bridge to get to the other side, like Kid Zone and a bunch of other stuff. The next day, the pathway to get from one side to the other was 6 feet underwater. It all came, starting the last 5 minutes as we were packing up, it started raining, never stopped. It was, places on the ground, there were inches of water. If it had been one day later, it would have been over for us, right? So the next year, we're like, never again. We moved into a place, that Tri-State place has, it's 2 giant horse barns, open like exhibition centers, right? But acres under roof. So we only do it under roof now. So if you ever decide you need some bacon and want to come to Chattanooga, Tennessee, we're under
roof. What's the date of that event?
It is always in May, usually the weekend before or after Mother's Day.
Okay.
I don't know if she's got the date set for it this year, but it is. If you like bacon, I think at our peak we had 53 food trucks, all with 3 bacon items each, so 153 bacon dishes.
Angie's going, I like bacon.
Everybody likes bacon, right? Well,
so your website for the events?
GatherUpEvents.com.
Gather Up Events. Now, Marty, you also, a lot of people don't know this, but Marty's really good at digital marketing. and really good at website development. Same address?
Nope. My digital agency is DigitalCusp.com. Digital Cusp.
And he's sharp. And when you see the people that show up at these events and the big numbers that he draws, you know that he's doing something right. So, Marty, first of all, thanks a million for the invite here. We had a great time with you guys.
Thank you. It wouldn't be the same without you.
No, man. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon. Paulides out.